Hi, Cindy here. I thought I would just record how to extend this background. So because the background is black, this is going to make it fairly simple. So the first thing I would normally do is make a duplicate copy of your background layer. It's Command J on your keyboard, Control J if you're on a PC, or you can just you could just drag it down here and go to the duplicate copy button. So once we have a copy, that's when we're going to work on. And then we're just going to hit the crop icon, and you have to go up here and choose the aspect ratio you want. So 4:5 is an 8:10. Now when you put it in, it'll come in as 4:5, which you actually want is 5:4 or 10:8. Same thing. So you need to hit the double arrow button to flip it over. And so there we are with the right size. And now what you can do is just drag out these corners to until you have it framed how you want it. And if it's up too high, you just click in the middle and then drag down to put it where you want it to be. And so I kind of think something like that would look good. You could actually do this. It would be slightly easier if you did it so that it was like this, where you're just adding to the top. But I'm going to show you the slightly harder version because it's only slightly harder. It's not. This is not going to be hugely difficult because these are nice solid colors in the background, and so it will make doing this fairly easy. So let's say that this is how we like it. So we just say OK or press Enter on your keyboard. That would work too. Now with this, there's a if you have Photoshop 2019, Photoshop CC, there is a newer version of Content Aware Fill that works really well, and it worked really well for this. And so I'm going to show you that. And if you don't have that, I'll show you a more manual way to do it in a second. So what we're going to do is choose this selection. I'm just choosing the rectangular marquee selection tool, which is W on your keyboard. And then I'm just going to select this part here on the top. And then I want to add to my selection. So I'm going to make sure that I have this one here with the two squares. And so I'm going to add to my selection. I'm going to add here. And I'm going to add. And so what I'm doing is just clicking, dragging, and going all the way down to the bottom. So like that. And I'm just going to grab my lasso tool. And I'm actually going to make it on exclude. Because I want to actually just take this little bit of dog out of the picture, and I want to take this little bit of dog out. All right, so now we have a fairly good selection. Only took us a second to do. And I'm going to go to Edit, and we're going to go to Content Aware Fill. This is the new version of Content Aware Fill. And so if you don't have that on your menu, I'll show you how to do it without. Now, on the left side of my screen, Photoshop, this is our preview. On the right side is what it, the right side is the preview. The left side is where we can manipulate what we're doing. You can see that it did really well all the way around. Where the only place where it goofed up was this paw. And all we have to actually do is grab the brush tool off of this little toolbar. And we're going to just color right here over top of the dog. And I'm not going to have to do very much. I'm just going to go this far. And all I'm telling Photoshop is the green bits are where it's pulling the information from to do the filling in. And so if I draw over the dog so he's not green any longer, it will recalculate this, and we'll see if it'll give us a decent correction. It looks like it's not going to. I'm just going to give this a little bit more information. I'm going to let it take this part of the bottom of the picture, and we'll see if it'll do it. And if not, we're going to have to do that little bit manually. Looks like we have to do that little bit manually, so that's not a big deal. So you can see that actually did a really good job. And the only thing we have to then do is grab another layer, and then we're just going to copy this part here and put it over here. And so I'm going to grab my clone tool. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so I can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to grab my clone tool, which is S on your keyboard, and then Option and click to choose a point where you're going to clone from, and then just clone over this part. We're going to do this down here. I'm going to make a pretty small brush and just go in here. And I'm actually going to grab a little bit of this fur, and I'm just going to do the end of his fur a little bit here. And then down to here. And then for the rest of that, I'm going to grab this part over here. And then put it in. And that's it. Okay, so if you don't have Photoshop CC 2019 that has the newer version of the Content Aware fill, this is how you would do it manually. There is an older version of Content Fill, but it doesn't work very well. It would work for the top part of this. Actually, I'll just show you that it will work for that. So what we would do is go grab our marquee tool again. We would go in here, and you need to make sure that you're doing this on a layer that actually has pixels. I need to do it on this layer, or a duplicate is what I normally would do. And so grab the marquee tool and give it a selection like that. And you can either go right click and choose fill here, or it's on the edit menu under fill. It's Shift F5. And you want to go content aware is what you're doing, and say okay. What happens with this content aware is it doesn't give you any options or choices. It just guesses. And sometimes it does an okay job. Like that worked perfectly fine for the top part, but you can see that these edges didn't work quite very well. It's actually picked up some of the dog's paw. So you could definitely start with that. And then what you would do is grab the clone tool, which is S on your keyboard, or it's this little clone stamp button here. Option click to choose a source, and then you just paint in where you want it to be. Because this is a solid black, it's fairly simple to clone in. And then we get here by the toe. We're just going to be a little bit more careful. I'm going to go right a little bit over the edge, and then I'm going to go over here and do the same thing. One thing to watch out when you're doing clone stamping like this is keep an eye where your source is, because as you move down the picture, you'll see that you'll get into where you have other things. So like if I chose a source that was right here beside the dog's tail and I started cloning in, I would end up with the dog's tail down here. So just watch where you're cloning from, as well as where you're cloning to. So we get into there, and then you just grab a spot that's close along here and line it up and put it in, and then just go straight down. Now the one thing about doing that is, you see this spot? You definitely don't want to do that. It's obvious that you've cloned in something if you get duplicates of things. So using, you can go over it again just to get rid of those kind of things, so that there's no duplication of what you are cloning in. So there's that, and then I would grab this same spot again, and I would move it over to here and put it in underneath this spot. Like that, and then this one into here, and that's where we would end up. So, you know, whether you do it manually or not, it's not too hard, because the background is a solid color. It makes it a lot easier to clone in when you've got a nice solid color. All right, I hope this helps.